The lecture hall was very quiet. 43 alien cadets sat in rows of metal seats. They came from 12 different planets. Some had scales, some had thick armor on their skin. Some had 4 arms or 6 eyes. They were all big, they were all strong. And they were all looking at the small human girl sitting alone in the back row. Her name was Yuna. She was 22 years old. She had black hair tied back in a tight knot and dark brown eyes that watched everything. She was the first human to ever join the Galactic Union Military Academy. She was also the smallest person in the room by far. The alien cadet next to her was 3 times her size. Instructor Coral stood at the front of the room. He was a Velith, a reptile-like species with blue scales that changed color with his mood. He was tall, almost 3 meters, and his golden eyes were cold. He pressed a button and a large screen behind him lit up with words and diagrams. "Today we will discuss the new safety protocols," Coral said. His voice was deep and had a strange double sound because his species had 2 sets of vocal cords. "These rules are now required for all training exercises." Yuna looked at the screen. The words made her stomach tight with anger, but she kept her face calm. She had learned to hide her feelings since coming to this academy 3 months ago. "As you can see," Coral continued, "we will reduce atmospheric pressure during endurance training. We will lower the intensity of combat simulations. We will add more rest periods and medical checkpoints." A large cadet in the front row raised his hand. His name was Byrox. He was a Gorath, a species that looked like they were made of living stone. His skin was thick and gray like rock. His arms were as big as Yuna's entire body. When he spoke, his voice sounded like 2 boulders grinding together. "Instructor, why must we change our training? We have used the same methods for 200 years. Coral's scales shifted to a darker blue. "The Galactic Union has ordered these changes. They are meant to accommodate species with different physical needs." Byrox turned his massive head and looked directly at Yuna. "You mean the human." Every eye in the room turned to her. Yuna felt their stares, but did not look away. She had felt these stares every day since she arrived. The alien cadets did not hate her. It was worse than that. They pitied her. "Humans are classified as a vulnerable species," Coral said. "They have no natural armor, no claws, no poison. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears easily. They require specific oxygen levels to breathe. The Union believes we must adjust our training to keep them safe." Byrox made a sound that might have been a laugh. "So we must all become weaker because one species is weak." "The Union values all member species equally," Coral said, but his tone made it clear he did not agree with this idea. Another cadet spoke up. Her name was Thessa. She was a Marathi, tall and thin, with 4 graceful arms and large dark eyes. Her voice was soft, but carried across the room. "I do not wish to be cruel, but I must speak truth. Humans are classified as a prey species. Every database in the Union says this. They have no natural weapons. They evolved on a peaceful garden world. They are not built for military service." Yuna's hands tightened on her desk, but she still said nothing. "Perhaps," Thessa continued, "it would be kinder to remove humans from combat training entirely. They could serve in other ways, administration, medical support, roles where they would not be in danger." Several cadets nodded their heads. They were not being mean. They truly believed they were being kind. That was what made it worse. Coral looked at Yuna. "Cadet Yuna, you have been silent. Do you wish to respond to these concerns?" 42 faces turned toward her again. Yuna took a slow breath. She had known this moment would come. She had prepared for it since the day she left Earth. She stood up. She was so small compared to the others that some cadets in the front rows had to turn around completely to see her. "I have a question first," Yuna said. Her voice was calm and steady. These safety protocols are based on physical assessments, correct? Coral nodded. Standard classification procedures. When Earth made first contact with the Union 3 years ago, your diplomats and scientists were examined. Their physical abilities were measured and recorded. Diplomats, Una repeated. Scientists, politicians, old men and women who spent their lives in offices and laboratories. They were representatives of your species. They were one type of human. Una stepped into the aisle between the seats. Tell me, instructor, when you want to understand what a Gorath can do you examine their oldest and weakest members, or do you look at their warriors? Birok shifted in his seat. His stone-like face showed the first sign of interest. You examined humans who had never fought, Una continued. Humans who had never hunted. Humans who had never been tested. And from that, you decided what all humans are. She shook her head slowly. You made a mistake. Coral's scales flickered between colors. Explain. You classified us as prey because we are soft, because we are small, because we break. Una walked forward, moving between the rows of massive alien cadets. But you never asked the most important question. What question? Una stopped in the center of the room. She looked up at Coral with eyes that held no fear. You never asked why humans are still alive. The room was completely silent now. Even the hum of the air systems seemed to fade. Every species in this room evolved on your home planets, Una said. You survived because you were strong, because you were fast, because you had armor or claws or poison. You survived because nothing could kill you. She paused. Humans survived because everything tried to kill us, and we refused to die. Thessa leaned forward. What do you mean? I mean that Earth is not a garden world. I mean that everything on my planet has been trying to eat humans for 200,000 years. We had no claws, no armor, no venom. We were small and weak and soft. Una smiled, and something in that smile made Birox lean back in his seat. So we learned to be something else, something the galaxy has never seen before. Coral's golden eyes narrowed. And what is that? Una looked at him steadily. Remove the safety protocols. Let me train with everyone else, and I will show you exactly what humans are. The lecture hall was still. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The alien cadets stared at the small human woman standing in the center of the room. Her words hung in the air like smoke. Birox was the first to break the silence. He stood up from his seat, and the metal groaned under his weight. He was almost 3 meters tall, and built like a mountain. When he walked toward Una, the floor shook with each step. You speak brave words, little human, he said. His grinding voice echoed off the walls. But words are just air. They mean nothing without proof. Una did not step back. She did not look away. She had to tilt her head far back to meet his eyes, but she held his gaze without blinking. Then let me prove them, she said. Birox laughed. It was an ugly sound, like rocks being crushed. You? Prove yourself against me? He held up one massive fist. It was bigger than Una's head. Your bones would turn to dust. Maybe, Una agreed, but you would have to catch me first. More laughter came from the other cadets. Thessa shook her head slowly, her forearms folding across her chest. This is not wise, she said. Humans are not built for combat against Gorath. You will be hurt. I have been hurt before, Una said simply. I am still here. Instructor Coral stepped forward. His scales had turned a troubled shade of green. This is highly irregular. The safety protocols exist specifically to prevent this kind of situation. The safety protocols exist because you think humans are weak, Una replied. I am asking for a chance to show you the truth. One training match. Standard combat simulation. If I lose, I will accept the protocols without complaint. I will accept whatever role the Academy gives me. And if you win? Coral asked. I will not win, Yuna said. Not the way you think of winning. But I will show you something important. Something you need to understand before you fight alongside humans in real battle. Coral looked at Birox. The Gorath's stone face was twisted in an expression that might have been amusement or anger. It was hard to tell with his species. I accept, Birox said. Let the human try. Let everyone see what happens when soft flesh meets stone. The other cadets began talking among themselves. Some seemed excited, others seemed worried. A few looked at Yuna with something that might have been respect for her courage, even if they thought she was foolish. Very well, Coral said after a long pause. Training Chamber 7, non-lethal combat parameters. Medical teams will be standing by. He looked at Yuna. Are you certain about this, Cadet? I have never been more certain of anything. The cadets filed out of the lecture hall and made their way through the metal corridors of the Academy. Training Chamber 7 was a large arena with high walls and a sandy floor. It was designed to handle combat between all species, from the smallest to the largest. Yuna walked into the center of the arena. She removed her uniform jacket and folded it carefully. Underneath, she wore a simple black tank top that left her arms and shoulders bare. Someone gasped. On her left shoulder, there was a large tattoo. It showed a skull with long, curved fangs. Empty eye sockets stared out at the world. Around the skull were words written in the Korean language of Earth. The image was detailed and beautiful, but there was something about it that made the alien cadets uncomfortable. It looked hungry. It looked patient. It looked like it was waiting for something. What is that? Fessa asked. She had come to the front of the viewing area, her large eyes fixed on the tattoo. Coral answered. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. I have seen images like this in classified files. It is a saber-toothed cat, an Earth predator that lived thousands of years ago. Lived? Fessa repeated. It is extinct? Yes. Coral's scales had gone pale. Humans hunted them to extinction. The words seemed to echo in the chamber. Hunted. Humans had hunted predators. Not run from them, not hidden from them, hunted them. Birox stepped into the arena. He had removed his outer armor, revealing the full mass of his stone-like body. Muscles moved under his gray skin like boulders shifting in an earthquake. He smiled at Yuna, showing teeth that could crush metal. A pretty picture, he said, nodding at her tattoo. It will not help you. Yuna finished stretching her arms and rolled her shoulders. The skull seemed to move with her muscles, its empty eyes watching Birox. This tattoo has been in my family for 8 generations, she said. My grandmother put it on my skin when I was 18 years old. Her grandmother did the same for her, and her grandmother before that. What does it mean? It means we remember. Yuna settled into a fighting stance. Her body was relaxed, her breathing slow and steady. We remember what we are, what we came from, what we had to become to survive. Birox cracked his knuckles. The sound was like small explosions. Enough talk. Let us see what humans really are. The match signal sounded. A loud tone echoed through the chamber. Birox charged. He moved faster than something his size should be able to move. His fist came down like a hammer, aimed at the spot where Yuna stood. The blow would have crushed stone. It would have dented metal. It would have killed any normal creature instantly. But Yuna was not there. She had moved before Birox even started his attack. She had watched his weight shift. She had seen his shoulder tense. She had read his body, like a book written in a language she had studied her entire life. She flowed around his strike like water, flowing around a rock. Smooth, easy, natural. Her palm shot out and struck his throat. Birox made a choking sound. He staggered backward, one hand going to his neck. His eyes were wide with shock. No one had ever hit him there before. No one had ever been fast enough. How? He started to say. But Yuna was already moving again. She ducked under his wild swing and rolled behind him. Her elbows struck a spot at the base of his spine, a nerve cluster, a weakness that most species did not know that Gorath had. Birox fell to one knee, his whole body shook. Humans study predators, Yuna said. She circled him slowly, staying out of his reach, but close enough to strike again. We learn their patterns, their weaknesses, their blind spots. We are not stronger than you. We are not faster than you. We are not tougher than you. She stopped in front of him and met his stunned gaze. But we learn, we adapt, and we never ever stop. Birox pushed himself back to his feet. His stone face was twisted with pain and anger, and something else. Something that might have been the beginning of fear. One lucky strike, he growled. It will not happen again. He charged once more. Yuna smiled. The predator skull on her shoulder seemed to smile with her. We will see, she said. Birox attacked again and again. Each strike was powerful enough to break walls. Each swing of his massive arms could have crushed a vehicle. He was anger and stone and pure force, a living weapon that had never been defeated in personal combat. Yuna was none of those things. She was small and soft and fragile. Her bones could break. Her skin could tear. One solid hit from Birox would end the fight immediately and perhaps end her life as well. So, she made sure he never hit her. She moved like smoke, like shadow, like something that existed between moments. Every time Birox swung, she was already somewhere else. Every time he reached for her, his fingers closed on empty air. The cadets watching from outside the arena had gone completely silent. They had expected to see a quick and brutal victory. They had expected to watch the foolish human get crushed in seconds. Instead, they were watching something they did not understand. Thessa leaned forward, her forearms gripping the railing. She is not fighting him, she whispered. She is not even trying to hurt him. Instructor Coral nodded slowly. His scales had changed to a color that none of his students had seen before. It was the color of deep thought, of old memories being awakened. She does not need to hurt him, Coral said. Watch her eyes. Watch how she moves. She is hunting him. In the arena, Birox was breathing hard. His stone chest rose and fell with great heaving breaths. Sweat had begun to appear on his gray skin, something that only happened when a Gorath pushed their body to its limits. Yuna circled him slowly. She had not stopped moving since the fight began, but her breathing was still calm and steady. They tracked every movement, every shift of weight, every twitch of muscle. Why won't you stay still? Birox growled. His voice was rougher now, tired. Fight me properly. I am fighting you properly, Yuna replied. I am fighting you like a human. She darted forward. Birox swung at her with both hands, a crushing blow that would have flattened her into the sand. But she dropped low, sliding under his arms, and her fist struck the inside of his knee. Not hard. She could not hit hard enough to damage his stone-like body. But the joint bent in a way it was not supposed to bend, and Birox stumbled. Before he could recover, she was behind him again. Her fingers found a pressure point under his arm, in the small gap between the plates of his natural armor. She pressed hard. Birox roared in pain. He spun around, but she was already gone, circling, watching, waiting. What is this? Birox demanded. His voice had lost its confidence. For the first time, there was uncertainty in his golden eyes. What kind of fighting is this? This is how humans survived, Yuna said. Long ago, before we had tools, before we had weapons, we were exactly what you think we are. Weak, soft, prey for every predator on our world. But we discovered something important. She moved in again. Birox tried to grab her, but his movements had slowed. His muscles were filled with the burn of exhaustion. She slipped past his reaching hands and struck another nerve point, this one on his side. Byrox grunted and stumbled again. We discovered that we could run longer than anything else, Yuna continued. Other animals were faster, stronger, more dangerous, but they could not keep going. They would run out of energy. They would overheat. They would need to stop and rest. Another strike, another nerve point. Byrox fell to one knee, his massive body shaking. But humans do not stop, Yuna said. She stood in front of him now, just out of reach. We sweat to cool our bodies. We breathe to feed our muscles. We can run for hours, days. We can chase prey until it dies from exhaustion, until its heart gives out, until it simply falls down and cannot get up again. She crouched down to meet his eyes. This is called persistence hunting. It is how our ancestors fed themselves for 100,000 years. We do not need to be stronger than our prey. We do not need to be faster. We just need to keep going. And eventually, everything else stops. Byrox stared at her. His golden eyes were wide. For the first time in his life, he understood what it felt like to be hunted. You, he gasped. You have been wearing me down. Since the beginning. Since before the beginning, Yuna agreed. I studied your species before I came to this academy. I learned your biology, your weaknesses, the pressure points that cause pain without permanent damage, the way your muscles work in short bursts of power, but tire quickly. She smiled gently. You are a predator, Byrox, a powerful one. But you evolved to end fights quickly. You are not built for long battles. She stood up and stepped back, giving him room. I am. Humans are built to keep going long after everything else has stopped. We are built to wear down our enemies until they have nothing left. And then, when they are too tired to fight back, we finish them. The watching cadets were absolutely still. They had never seen anything like this. They had never imagined anything like this. Coral's scales had turned white. It was the velvet color of fear. Persistence, predator, he whispered. By the stars. They are not prey at all. They are something far worse. In the arena, Byrox slowly pushed himself to his feet. His body shook with the effort. Every muscle screamed for rest. But the Gorath did not give up. His species did not surrender. He would fight until he could not move any more. I am not finished, he growled. Yuna nodded with respect. I know. You have great courage. Your species is known for it. She raised her hands back into a fighting stance. But courage will not save you from what I am. Nothing saves prey from a human. Not speed, not strength, not armor, not hiding. She began to circle again. Patient, relentless, eternal. I will keep coming, she said softly. I will keep hitting the places that hurt. I will keep wearing you down. And eventually you will fall. Not because I am stronger than you, but because I will not stop, ever. Byrox watched her move around him. His legs trembled. His arms hung heavy at his sides. For the first time in his life, he understood what it meant to be prey. Byrox attacked 3 more times. Each attack was weaker than the one before. Each movement was slower. His stone body, built for explosive power and quick victories, was failing him in a way it had never failed before. Yuna did not stop moving. She circled and dodged and struck with the patience of a rising tide. Her blows were not powerful. They did not need to be. Each one found a nerve cluster, a pressure point, a small gap in his natural armor. Each one added a little more pain, a little more weakness, a little more doubt. The cadets watching from outside the arena had stopped talking entirely. They stood in silence, their eyes fixed on the impossible scene below. A creature of living stone, one of the most feared warriors in the known galaxy, was being slowly taken apart by a small human woman who had not even broken a sweat. Thessa's hands were shaking. She gripped the railing so hard that her thin fingers turned pale. "This is not possible," she whispered. This cannot be real. It is real, Coral replied. His voice was hollow, empty of its usual authority. We have made a terrible mistake. The entire Galactic Union has made a terrible mistake. What do you mean? Coral's golden eyes never left Yuna. We classified humans based on their bodies. Soft skin, fragile bones, no natural weapons. We saw what they lacked and assumed they were weak. His scales shifted through a dozen colors, reflecting emotions too complex to name. We never thought to ask how a species so fragile could become the dominant life form on their planet. We never thought to ask what they had to become to survive. In the arena, Byrox fell to his knees. His breath came in great ragged gasps. His stone skin had turned a sick gray color, like old cement. His arms hung limp at his sides. Yuna stood before him. She was barely breathing hard. Her dark eyes were calm and steady, watching him the way a cat watches a wounded mouse. Please, Byrox gasped. The words seemed to cost him everything. The Gorath did not beg. The Gorath did not show weakness. But he could no longer pretend that this was a fight he could win. Please, I do not understand. How are you doing this? Yuna crouched down, so their eyes were level. Up close, Byrox could see the details of her face. The tiny scars on her hands and arms. The calluses on her knuckles. The lines around her eyes that came from years of squinting into the sun. She was young, but her body told the story of someone who had trained hard for a very long time. I told you, she said gently. Humans are persistence predators, but that is only part of what we are. What else? Byrox's voice was barely a whisper now. We are tool users. When we did not have claws, we made knives. When we did not have fangs, we made spears. When we could not kill at a distance, we made bows and arrows and guns. Every weakness we had, we found a way to overcome. She pointed at the tattoo on her shoulder. The ancient skull seemed to glow in the arena lights. This animal was faster than us, stronger than us. It had fangs longer than my hand. It killed our ancestors for thousands of years. And then we learned to work together. We learned to use fire and traps and weapons, and we hunted it until there were none left. Byrox stared at the skull, at the empty eye sockets that had once belonged to a living creature. A predator, something that should have been above humans in the natural order. You killed all of them? He asked. We killed all of them. Yuna's voice held no pride, no shame, only truth. That is what humans do. When something threatens us, we do not run, we do not hide. We learn everything about it. We find its weaknesses, and then we destroy it so completely that it can never threaten us again. She stood up and looked around at the watching cadets. Every alien face was frozen in some expression of shock or fear or awe. You call us a prey species, Yuna said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. You made rules to protect us, safety protocols, reduced training, special accommodations. She shook her head slowly. You meant well, but you were wrong about what we are. She turned back to Byrox. The massive Gorath was still on his knees, unable to rise. We are not prey, Yuna said. We are not predators in the way you understand predators. We are something new. Something the galaxy has never seen before. She held out her hand to Byrox. We are the species that looks at the impossible and says yes. We are the species that crosses oceans and climbs mountains and walks on moons. We are the species that refuses to accept limits. Ever. Byrox looked at her hand. Small, soft, fragile, deadly. If you are not predators, he said slowly, then what are you? Yuna smiled. It was a warm smile, a human smile, full of kindness and understanding. But underneath it was something else, something old and patient and absolutely certain. "We are the species that tamed fire," she said, "that split the atom, that built machines to think for us, that looked at the stars and decided they belonged to us." Her smile widened. "We are the species that never ever gives up, and that makes us more dangerous than any predator you have ever known." She kept her hand extended, waiting, patient. Byrox stared at it for a long moment. Then slowly, he reached out and took it. Her grip was firm despite her small size. She helped him to his feet, supporting his weight without complaint. "I yield," Byrox said. The words were loud enough for everyone to hear. "I yield to Cadet Yuna of Earth." The chamber remained silent, but it was a different kind of silence now. Before, it had been the silence of expectation, of certainty that the weak human would fall. Now, it was the silence of understanding, of realization, of fear. Instructor Coral stepped forward. His scales had settled into a deep amber color that Yuna did not recognize. "Cadet Yuna," he said. His voice was formal, but there was something new in it. Respect. "This match is concluded. You have proven your point." "No," Yuna said quietly. She released Byrox's hand and turned to face the instructor. "I have only begun. There is more you need to understand about humans, more you need to see." Coral's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Yuna looked around at the cadets, at the aliens who had pitied her, who had seen her as weak, who had wanted to protect her from a universe they thought was too dangerous for her kind. "I mean that what you saw today was nothing," she said. "This was one human, alone, with no weapons and no tools. You want to know what we really are?" Her dark eyes gleamed. "Give me a team, give me equipment, give me a problem to solve, and I will show you what humans can truly do." 3 weeks passed after the fight in Training Chamber 7. During those weeks, everything changed. The story of the human cadet who defeated a Goroth warrior spread through the academy like wildfire. At first, some did not believe it. They said it must be exaggeration. They said the Goroth must have been sick or tired or holding back. But there were 42 witnesses. There was video from the training chamber's recording systems. There was Byrox himself, who refused to let anyone say he had lost to anything less than a true warrior. "She beat me," he told anyone who asked. His voice held no shame, only wonder. "She beat me without ever throwing a punch I could feel. She beat me by refusing to stop, by knowing things about my own body that I did not know." He would shake his massive head slowly. "Humans are not what we thought they were. They are something else entirely." Yuna became something she had never expected to be. She became famous. Cadets who had ignored her before now wanted to talk to her. They wanted to know about Earth, about human history, about the wars and hunts and struggles that had shaped her species. They wanted to understand how something so small and soft could be so dangerous. She answered their questions patiently. She told them about the ice ages, when humans had survived temperatures that would kill most galactic species. She told them about the Great Migrations, when her ancestors had walked across continents with nothing but simple tools and iron will. She told them about the diseases that had killed billions, and the way humans had learned to fight invisible enemies with medicine and science. She told them about the predators, the wolves and lions and bears that had hunted humans for ages. She told them how humans had studied these creatures, learned their ways, and then turned the tables on them so completely that now wolves were pets and lions lived in cages, and bears ran from the sound of human voices. "We do not hate the animals that hunted us," she explained to a group of cadets one evening. They sat in the common room, gathered around her like children listening to stories. "We respect them, we remember them, but we made sure they would never threaten us again. That is the human way. We do not forget. We do not forgive nature for trying to kill us. We overcome it." Fessa was among the listeners. The Marathi had become something like a friend to Yuna in the weeks since the fight. She was curious and intelligent, always asking questions, always wanting to learn more. "The tattoo," Thessa said one night. "You said your grandmother gave it to you. What does it truly mean?" Yuna touched her shoulder, feeling the slightly raised skin where the ancient predator skull had been permanently marked on her body. "In my family's tradition, every warrior receives this mark when they come of age. It is a reminder." "Of what?" "Of where we came from, of what we faced, of what we became." Yuna's eyes grew distant, looking at something far away. The saber-toothed cat was one of the most dangerous predators that ever lived on Earth. It hunted our ancestors for thousands of generations. It was faster, stronger, better armed in every way. By all logic, it should have won. It should have eaten us into extinction. But it did not. No. Because humans do not follow logic. We do not accept the rules that nature gives us. We change the rules. We break them. We make new ones. Yuna smiled, but it was a sharp smile, a dangerous smile. The cat is gone now. We are still here, and we carry its skull on our skin to remember that nothing is truly stronger than a human who refuses to give up. A month after the fight, Instructor Koral called Yuna to his office. It was a small room, filled with screens and holographic displays showing data from across the galaxy. Koral sat behind his desk, his scales a calm blue-green. "Sit down, Cadet," he said. Yuna sat. She kept her back straight and her hands folded in her lap. She had learned that aliens responded well to calm, patient body language. It put them at ease. It made them forget how dangerous the small human woman really was. "I have received new orders from the Galactic Union Council," Koral said. He touched a control on his desk, and a document appeared on the screen between them. "It concerns the classification of humanity." Yuna read the document, then she read it again. Her face showed nothing, but inside, something warm began to spread through her chest. "Persistence Predator," she read aloud. "Apex Variant, High Threat Classification. Recommended for frontline combat roles, strategic planning, and long-term operations," Koral said. "The safety protocols have been removed, all of them. From this day forward, human cadets will train alongside everyone else, with no special restrictions or protections." Yuna looked up at him. "Thank you, Instructor." Koral's scales shifted to a color she had not seen before. It took her a moment to realize it was the Velith expression of respect. "Do not thank me, Cadet. Thank yourself. You changed our understanding of your species. You showed us that our classifications were wrong." He paused. "You also terrified half the military council, but that is perhaps a good thing. Healthy fear leads to healthy respect." Yuna stood. She gave a small bow, a gesture of respect from her own culture. "I hope that we can work together, humans and aliens, learning from each other, growing stronger together." Then he added, quietly, "For all our sakes, I hope we never have to fight against humans. I am not certain we would survive it." Yuna walked out of his office and into the corridor. Through the windows, she could see the stars. Thousands of them. Millions. Each one might have planets. Each planet might have life. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders and dangers beyond counting. But Yuna was not afraid. Humans had faced danger before. They had faced extinction. They had faced predators and diseases and their own violent nature. And they had survived everything. Not because they were strong, not because they were fast, but because they refused to stop. She touched her shoulder. Under her uniform, the ancient skull waited, patient, watchful, a reminder of victories long past, and a promise of victories yet to come. The galaxy thought it knew what humans were. It thought it understood the soft, small, fragile species from the little blue planet. It was wrong. Humans were not prey. Humans were not even predators in the normal sense. Humans were something far more dangerous than either. Humans were survivors, adapters, learners, conquerors. And now they were among the stars. Yuna smiled as she walked toward the training chambers. There was still so much to do, so much to prove, so much to show the galaxy about what her species could become. The saber-toothed cat had learned too late what humans truly were. The rest of the galaxy would learn soon enough.